freezer up. What's in the freezer, Jake?
Inside the freezer was the body of Brian Hemmert, Jake Hemmert's father.
I never put it on this earth to call another man a liar, but you sure make that hard for me, Jake.
This is Jake Hemmert. Right now, Jake has realized that detectives found his dead father's body in his freezer, a body he has been living with for months. And as they chip away at this evil son's story,
You knew he wasn't coming back.
I don't know why you keep making assumptions, sir.
detectives are about to realize that what they have discovered is just the tip of the iceberg, because Jake is hiding much more than they could have ever known.
You know he didn't go on a trip. I know that, you know that. We know that's complete bull. What does the Bible tell you to do?
The truth shall set you free.
On August 28, 2023, in Alva, Florida, the elderly father of 60-year-old Brian Hemmert called police to report that his son was missing. Authorities soon went to the home Brian shared with his 32-year-old son Jake, who arrived a few minutes later driving his father's vehicle. Jake told detectives his dad was on a trip out west, and while he wasn't available now, he'd recently spoken to him by phone. But when investigators pinged Brian's cell phone, they found that it hadn't left the house. Jake was arrested on an outstanding warrant for theft in Maricopa County, Arizona, and a search warrant was issued for the home. Inside, investigators found Brian's cell phone and credit card in Jake's bedroom drawer, and suspicious traces of blood in the master bedroom. A detective reviewed Brian's credit card usage and saw that it had been used to buy a large chest freezer that was delivered to the home on June 22nd. The sheriff's homicide unit team was dispatched to the scene, who located the freezer plugged in and duct taped shut. They opened it and discovered a male later identified as Brian Hemmert. An autopsy determined he'd been shot twice. With Jake already in custody, investigators have him right where they want him, and as he's brought in for questioning, they want to know how his father ended up dead and why he's been lying about it ever since. And before we get into this footage provided by the Lee County Sheriff's Office, I just started this channel, and with your support, I'm aiming to hit 1,000 subscribers by the end of January. Your help by subbing to the channel would mean the world to me and help us reach that goal.
Really don't want to talk to you, so unless you have something super important to say, I'd like to go back to jail.
I'm giving you the opportunity to talk. That's up to you. I'm not here to pick on you, give you a hard time, whether or not you want to talk.
Because you traumatized Lex and her poor daughter.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I followed an investigation. That's what I did. Okay. So that's not my fault. Do you have any problems talking with me?
No.
What's that?
Nope.
You have no problems? You're okay with talking?
Let's do it. What
Okay.
questions you got this morning?
Okay. Well, obviously, where'd we leave off?
Left off, you guys were searching the house, I think.
Uh-huh.
And that was kind of the end of our conversation.
Right. We were searching the house, and your version of what happened was you dropped them off on a boat. Right? Is there anything from the version that you provided to us about the plane trip to the boat, those two? Is there anything else you want to change, alter, modify? Stick with that version? Okay. Well, let's talk about the boat trip. Okay?
Sure.
Where did you drop them off at?
Somewhere on the Caloosahatchee over the north side of Bayshore.
Can you describe it for me?
I remember I went down Palm Beach, turned right to go over 31, took the first right, and went up a couple miles to a dock between some houses.
So up Palm Beach, or up 31?
Up 31 over the river, the first right,
Okay.
and I went towards Okeechobee. So I 6 or 7 miles, but not all the way to like Alva Market. And there was a dock with a white 3-story tall, at least 50 or 60 foot fishing boat.
Okay. Can you describe the boat further?
It was big, it was white, it had the steering wheel on the upper deck, and the guy that was on the boat that I could see kind of looked like Matt Bracken, but I didn't think
Who's Matt Bracken? I don't know.
So my dad's a very big conspiracy theory nut. Matt Bracken wrote a book about 20 years. He's a retired Navy SEAL. He wrote a book about 20 years ago called Enemies Foreign Domestic.
Okay.
Basically, if we ever got invaded. He was one of the guys that decided to leave the country after January 6th because the feds were coming for him.
Okay.
And it kind of looked like him.
Okay.
He's the only other person that I saw on the boat.
Okay. No one else?
But from everything else that because I've watched a bunch of those videos on, I thought that Matt had already left the country and that he was a sailboat guy. So I don't think that could have been him.
Yeah, because generally people that like blow boats don't like power boats.
Yeah.
They're very unique that way, people that are into boats. Some like the engine and some like to go by the wind. They don't usually go back and forth.
But I do know that Bracken just happened to be in Panama like 3 weeks ago, which would kind of make sense. He's had a couple rough years. I honestly don't know if he's going to come back, to be honest with you.
Really?
Really. Between his sister, between the country falling apart, between his dad constantly hiding stuff from him, between his dad constantly choosing Bonnie over him. It was either that or we were actually going to go to Idaho and he was going to go disappear off in the woods and go be with the Lord and do whatever he was going to do. I was just like, I don't know what to tell you, Bobs. I mean, the only thing he told me, he said, if I'm not back by December, you can go ahead and file missing persons. He said, my will and everything is in the safe. Everything's yours. Give your sister some stuff if you want. It's the last thing he said when he went to drive him off.
Which safe?
The little one that was in the closet in that front room. There should have been a will in there.
It's like a Sentry. I think it's Sentry.
I think so.
Lockbox that opens like this. And that was already signed and filled out, the will, as far as you know.
I haven't been in that safe, I can tell you.
Oh, okay. So you never saw the will or anything like that?
Jake claims he dropped his dad off at a boat where he sailed off with an ex-Navy SEAL and obscure online conspiracy theorist. It's an unlikely story, and one even he seems to realize is a transparent lie. So he changes course and makes it clear that Brian wanted to get lost and never be found. But considering the information authorities already know, like Brian's body being found in the freezer, they won't waste any time on these theories. This detective already knows the truth. Now he just needs Jake to tell it to him.
So, obviously we followed up on a lot of stuff, and we've been continuing this investigation. Okay? Yeah. We talked to Alexis. Okay? Yeah. It doesn't give me any joy to, pull somebody over with their kid in the car. No, it doesn't. I don't enjoy it. Okay? But what happens, it's out of our control. Okay? But you care for her. Right? You don't want to see her hurt. You don't want to see her get pulled into anything.
Yeah, but you involved in any sort of anything that you guys think is going on here. I did want a $2,000 dog going to the pound, so I got arrested. I called.
Mm-hmm.
She pulled in the driveway. You guys pulled her into the investigation.
Right.
Freaked her and her daughter out that night, and then you followed her around for a week and a half.
That's not actually accurate. That was not accurate.
Well, she told me that on the jail message things, you had a cop sitting outside of her house.
Right.
And then you guys pulled her over with her daughter in the car on a Saturday or something.
Mm-hmm.
Took her into custody, took her cell phone from her.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
For what reason?
To continue the investigation, to figure out what was going on. She talked to you on the phone. We listened to the jail call.
Okay.
That's no shocking. But she said something to you during that call. She said the cops came to my house. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. She said the cops came to my house, but I didn't tell them anything. Okay, that's not a normal response for someone to say they don't know anything, because if If it was someone else and they talked to you on the phone, what do you think the normal response would be? The cops came to my house. Why the hell are they coming to my house? What is on? They don't have a clue. But she made that specific statement to say, but I didn't tell them anything. Okay? That tells us and suggests to us that she has some knowledge, some other information that she's not telling us about. Okay? That's what led and continued us to do what we did. Okay?
So not remember that part of the conversation.
Oh, it's recorded. I'm
sure it is.
I'm not making it up. So why would she make that comment? Why would she say that? If you truly, and I do believe you really do like her, you love her. If there's something, don't drag her into it. Just tell us the truth. Okay? If she has some information or she knows something, don't drug her through the mud. That's not us. That's you. That's you causing that. Don't do that to her. Don't do that to Harper. She doesn't deserve that. We're going to follow the information the way we have to. That's our job. But if she has some information, don't drug her into this. Did you say something to her or some other information, something that you haven't told us, okay, that she has? Because that's a very unique statement for someone to make.
Sir, I have absolutely no reason why she made that statement. I really don't. She doesn't know anything other than anything, I've talked to her off and on that wasn't okay in the head for the last year. I've told her some stuff about that, but that's kind of been about it. She knows everything about my Aunt Brenda. She knows everything about my psychopath mother marrying my uncle. I've told her all that stuff.
So you told me the other day about his card. We found his bank card in your room. And you said, what? What were you supposed to use that card for?
Paying bills.
Paying bills? We said HOA is what you originally said. Okay. So how much did you use that card?
A lot.
A lot. How much do you think you used it? And how many times do you think you used it?
Use it pretty much exclusively for the last couple months.
How many times? Take a guess. About 200. About 260. Does that sound about right?
Oh.
How much money?
30 grand.
It's been 30 grand money. What do you think it would say?
I don't think he cares.
Why do you think that?
Because I don't think he's coming back.
You heard that right. Jake just admitted to racking up $30,000 worth of charges on Brian's credit card in just a few weeks' time. He seems to think that wherever his dad is, he'll no longer be needing it. It's a defense he may want to rethink, considering it makes him look guilty as hell.
There's all sorts of pictures. I'm not going to bring in all of them, but I mean, ATMs, you're pulling money like crazy. You're transferring the money. You said about 30 grand. Okay. That's a lot of money in a short period of time for somebody that just went out on a trip and is supposed to come back. To me, it seems like more that this trip that he went on, he's not coming back.
I'm pretty afraid he's not coming back, yes.
Right. Well, I think it's a little bit more than, I think he's not coming back.
I don't know for sure.
And we talked to the folks that had come over as well. Selling your dad's tools. Okay. Tell me about the one with the drill press.
The one with the drill, the guys with the drill. What do you want to know?
Well, were you looking for something when he was purchasing the drill press?
Yeah, the manual for it.
Right, the manual. Okay. But you called him on the phone and had a conversation with him looking for the manual. You said yes, and you're shaking your head yes, and then you're shaking your head no.
Yeah, I picked up my phone, but obviously I wasn't talking to you.
Right. Right. Because the cell phone records don't match up from the time that he was here. So that too kind of suggests to me that you're selling office tools.
Yeah. We had that conversation before we left. We'll sell everything in the garage.
So again, it kind of goes back to the fact that this trip, you knew he wasn't coming back.
I don't know why you keep making assumptions, sir.
Well, because obviously we've kind of done a little bit more of our homework and we've been doing a little bit more research. Okay? You know that. We're not stupid. I mean, you know I've done a lot of research. Now, the question I have is how far do you want to continue to go with this and tell us that you went on a trip when we know that's not true? There comes a time and a place, Jake, when we're going to have to actually acknowledge, admit, or explain what happened. You know that you know he didn't go on a trip. I know that. You know that. Okay? We know that's complete bullshit. Now, it's up to you what you want to do and explain. Explain to us what really happened. We can sit here and talk about all these other things, but the issue is at hand. You know he's not coming back because you know he never left. We know that. But the question is, what does Jake want to tell us happened? The man that took you in, allowed you to stay in his house, and probably the only one that cared about you. Tell us what happened to
I told you that.
Jake, you know that's not true. Stop with that. You're going to have to change it to something different because we know that didn't happen.
I don't understand what you're trying to get at.
Jake can play dumb all he wants, but even he sees that time is running out. While he may not be a criminal mastermind, he's smart enough to know he wouldn't be in this room if cops didn't have a very good reason. And as he's shown a photo of that very reason, you can almost hear his heart skip a beat.
What's that a picture of?
A room full of stuff.
Yep. What's under that stuff?
Freezer.
Yep. A freezer that you ordered on June 22nd, 2023. What's in the freezer, Jake? What happened, Jake?
Same thing that happens to apparently everybody in our family.
What's that?
Don't know how to handle it.
Explain.
It was that night. Dad asleep. I heard a boom go off in his room. I was on the floor. There was blood everywhere.
Where's the 45? So we.
Yeah, I was so afraid because I knew I had a warrant out. I didn't know if there was two. My life was a complete and total mess. I'd pretty much given up on everything. So I knew that if I called the cops, that they would probably try to blame me anyway. Or at least take me to jail. So I sat there and had a panic attack for a couple hours. Ordered the freezer. Took my tiny butt, everything that I had for like 4 hours to try to roll him into the freezer. And I just tried to pretend that everything was okay. It was just on a trip. Not knowing how this was all ever going to play out. But it did. We're here.
After learning that police discovered Brian's body, Jake must make up a new story on the fly. And considering the facts of the case, the one he comes up with is especially ridiculous. He claims his father took his own life, and, worried he'd be arrested for the Arizona warrant, he stuck him in a freezer instead of calling the authorities. While there's several problems with this story, the main one is this. Brian's autopsy confirmed he was shot twice. But Jake's full of excuses when it comes to the events surrounding his father's death, and each one is lamer than the last.
I went out and spent all of his money because I was having a panic attack. I didn't know what to do. I don't really care about anybody else or anything that was left. It's like, I don't really care now. Just give me the needle, lock me away for life. I don't really give a shit. I love blacks, I did, but Dad was the only fucking person I ever cared about. He was the only person that cared about me. Without him here, I don't really fucking care anymore.
What's up?
Here, I really don't fucking care anymore.
Went shopping at Walmart, bought a whole bunch of stuff to clean up. Paid cash for it. Yeah. Maybe a picture with the self-check. The trash bags, the air fresheners. Why so many air fresheners?
That's done instantly.
Well, I mean, I can tell you that I have a hard time with that just because I've been around dead bodies. I've been in homicide for about 12 years, and generally bodies, they don't stop when they first. It usually takes a couple days.
Maybe it was the smell of blood or something that made me crazy. I don't know.
I have a hard time believing that he. I mean, we acknowledge the fact that you cleaned up, you changed everything around, you cut up the mattress. Why not throw all that stuff out? You remember researching bulk trash pickup?
Yeah, for like the grill and stuff.
But that's right at the same time when all this happened. You remember? What I don't understand, why would you keep it in the house? Why wouldn't you just get rid of it?
I didn't know what to do.
I mean, what was Jake's end game?
It didn't have an end game, obviously. There was no end game. I didn't know what I was doing. I should have called the cops that time.
And now, why not just tell your grandfather? I mean, you don't care for him, but why not just tell him instead of making up this elaborate crash that carried on for weeks? Why not just tell him?
Because I'd already dug myself in a hole, and the only way I know how to fix things is to dig myself deeper into the hole until the thing implodes. I don't know how. And
that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah.
A simple call to 911, and we wouldn't have been here. But you understand the perspective of other people, what they would look at it as.
100%.
I mean, rightly so.
I knew I had it out.
So you acknowledge or realize that that's normal for people to say, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. If people found their loved one dead, it happens every day. We find that every day. It happens. That people will just call 911. Okay, they don't go on a spending spree for weeks and spend almost 30 grand. But it all comes back to the time when he shot himself. And then all that changes. The bank activity, the transfers from retirement. So you realize that to some that would look, yeah. And the problem I still have with is I've also been doing this for a while. That doesn't line up well. It's not really possible for somebody to shoot themselves like that because of the distance. You have to think of other things that happen when guns are fired and the powder burns and stuff like that. That doesn't match up. So you're kind of going down that road of trying to make more and continue down a road of not telling the truth. You know that, and I know that. You're not going to be able to, huh? No, I don't think you are on that. It doesn't line up. It's not possible. How am I? But switch roles, Jake. How am I supposed to sit here and listen to from before to now how many lies? And now all of a sudden I'm supposed to just go, okay, now he's telling me the truth and believe you. You understand how that would be hard for me to do. But then I look at the science behind it and trajectory of it. That doesn't add up. That doesn't line up. I know that and you know that.
With Jake's long track record of lying, he'll have a hard time convincing anyone he's telling the truth, especially when all the facts point in the other direction. Because not only does Jake's little spending spree arouse serious suspicion, Brian's injuries aren't compatible with that of taking his own life, and that points to a clear-cut case of homicide.
Everything points to the fact that Dad was laying in bed. Yeah, he was. He was laying in his bed, and you walked in, and you shot him. You shot him, and then stole from him. Because it all goes back to that time when it all abruptly changes on June 19th. And you switch to the Facebook, you switch the banking, all of that switches. And then the activity. It all results right back to that time period. That's not somebody that's grieving. That's somebody that's breeding off of money. That's not grief, Jake.
Might have had a lot of shit in my life, done a lot of dumb stuff in my life, but I absolutely would never harm. We'll do whatever you want to me.
I mean, the whole cleanup, everything. Doesn't make any sense. The only thing that makes sense is we're trying to hide it and prolong and go on a spending spree and steal, which you've done in the past. You understand that I'm not trying to be. I'm saying that I'm going based on past history alone. You do understand that.
Yes.
So you hear this shot, you go into the room, you turn the light on. Okay, what's the first thing you see?
Gun on the floor, hand off the bed, blood everywhere.
Gun on the floor, hand off the bed. So kind of like this. Up higher, lower, medium, you tell me. And he's laying where? Is he on his side? Is he on his back? Is he? He's laying flat on his back.
His head. Yes.
What's the first thing you do? Walk me through.
Check for a pulse. There was no pulse. Check wrist. Check neck. There's nothing. I started having a panic attack around the kitchen, threw up in the sink.
Do you have blood on you?
My hands.
And then what?
I didn't know what to do. I sat on the floor and cried for about an hour, contemplating whether or not I should call 911. Eventually I got up and looked everywhere for a note. Didn't see a note. That's exactly what his sister did, printed with the note enter.
It's very rare.
At that point, I decided that I could get along without his financial help because I'd given up on life months prior. So I ordered his freezer. Freezer showed up at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon.
So the night you ordered the freezer, because you actually ordered one from Home Depot, do you remember?
Yeah, and then I realized it was probably going to be too small. Ordered another one from Lowe's.
So the night that you, or the time when you ordered this, that's the time, that night where this happened. Okay. Go on. So you ordered the freezer.
I closed the bedroom door. I went and sat in the shower for an hour. I don't remember if I went to Walmart before or after the freezer showed up.
Before. You're at the Walmart around 8:30.
I went to Walmart. Got some sort of stuff to clean up.
Do you remember at that time what you bought?
Some black trash bags, I'm assuming.
A drop cloth
that I never used. It's in the garage.
Mm-hmm. The masks.
Because I thought it was going to smell.
The air fresheners.
Because the blood smell was already making me sick. When the freezer showed up, I pushed it to the bottom of his bed, and it took me 3 hours to try to roll him into it because I kept having a panic attack, throwing up. I haven't been to the gym in 4 or 5 years, and he weighs over 200 pounds. And I plugged the freezer in.
How did you get the freezer from the bedroom to the front room?
About an hour and a half of me trying to push it.
So you put him in from his bedroom and then move the whole thing into the... Why did you do it that way?
Because I wanted everything to go back to normal. I wanted to get his room back to normal. Just like he was on vacation and nothing was wrong. But I didn't even clean up for weeks. Once he was in the freezer, I just shut that bedroom door and went in there and air freshened it once in a while. I didn't tear the bed up or anything for weeks. I was afraid to go back in there.
You'd think if Jake had spent his entire life lying, he'd be a little better at it by now. Because even though he tries his best to explain his actions, that's hard to do when they're totally inexplicable. It doesn't get any easier when he's asked about the strange phone calls he made after his father's death. And we see the lies his rickety defense is built on begin to topple.
How about calling his bank?
I'm sure I did.
Call him a couple times on the 24th. Do you remember the purpose of that? How about why call Collier County? It's like land development or something like that down in Collier County.
At all.
How about the Veterans Affairs? Lee County.
Never called the VA.
Not the VA itself. The county. Lee County. There's a Veteran Affairs person.
I'll make a phone call.
Okay.
I know he had a lot of missed calls from the VA because he had appointments.
Mm-hmm. For his cancer. That he doesn't have. So you use that one too. You do realize that all of those things absolutely calls into question your integrity.
I'm a liar and I'm terrible at it. That's pretty
Right.
clear.
Yeah. Because you realize and you acknowledge yourself that you tell a lie, then you tell another lie. Because it's a repetitive cycle until everything implodes and falls in. And that's why I go back to the fact of, I don't believe he had shot himself. I don't. Because their timeline and everything almost matches up. But it actually happens sooner. Because all that activity stops prior to when you say he killed himself.
What activity stops?
His banking activity, his phone activity, all of those things are life things that we look at and we document. And that abruptly changes then. So you talk about the odor. I think it actually, this incident happens before, a day before. I think you're off by 24 hours. That doesn't add up. Any entry wounds and exit wounds. And one of the other things we look at is, it's called stippling. All of that stuff doesn't add up. It doesn't. Not to. It's too far away. That's where I feel that you're being honest on.
There was a pillow.
There was a pillow?
Between him. And there's a hole in the pillow. There's a pillow on the side of his neck.
Right, because there's fibers on him as well. And that's why another reason why I don't believe in this. Gonna through a pillow?
I don't know why he did it. We don't know why anybody did it. We don't know why my aunt swallowed 2 whole things of pills.
No. You're right. A lot of times we don't know why people do, but there's certain distinctive things that we can tell from a versus somebody laying in bed sleeping and somebody walking into the room and pulling a .45 out and shooting him in the head. 2 totally different scenes. That scenario fits much better with the scene than shooting himself. I know that and you know that. The difference is you don't want to admit to that.
Because I didn't do it.
So you want me to sit here and believe that you were traumatized and you were grieving, but then went on a shopping spree and spent $30,000 of your dad's money and transferring from retirement, but you were grieving?
Yeah, I was spending all on useless crap. It's not like I was trying to run or do anything fancy.
I'll
through it all like
I'll give you the fact that your end game, I don't think you really had an end game. I don't think you really knew what to do after that. But you were living in the moment and you were living in the right now. I'm going to ride this out as long as I can. And then you have to have that panic moment on Thursday or Friday before we come out when your grandfather says, and you talk to him, the police are coming. You just didn't realize, and unfortunately for you, I went to the call. Because there's other people, yeah, they quite possibly could have completely gotten away with it and not realized it. But unfortunately, you drew the short straw on that. You want to call it fate? Call it what do you want?
In an utter show of dominance, the detective lets Jake know that if it wasn't for him, he may very well have gotten away with it. And while it may be a tactic used to intimidate, it seems to have worked, because now that Jake's running out of lies, he's also running out of hope. So even though he'll continue his charade a little while longer, even he can read the writing on the wall. And for him, it spells nothing but doom.
I never put it on this earth to call another man a liar, but You sure make that hard for me, Jake. Because
About a lot of things. You.
Yeah. Yeah. And I keep finding each lie and keep defeating each lie and continue on this. But you're going to sit there and try to maintain that killed himself. I know that's not true, Jake. We know that.
That's completely true. You can believe me or not, but I really don't give a shit at this point. No.
It just doesn't add up. The scene doesn't add up.
I don't know if it's supposed to add up or not.
No, that's the problem. Is it always does add up. That's the problem. The dynamics of, you can alter it, but the dynamics of it, the recreation, will always add up. You can't change it. You can't change science. We can interpret science differently, but it's always going to come to the same conclusion. And it's this, what you're claiming and what you're saying doesn't add up. It doesn't. I'm not even going into account the after effects of changing everything, moving things around, the shopping spree, the spending spree, the lifestyle, all of those other things don't change. Life goes on. My dad's in a freezer in the house, but life goes on. I'm going to spend his money.
So, from a detective, I've lied about a lot of things to you, but I'm not going to change my story on that paper. That was my best friend.
And that's how you treat your best friend? You order a freezer and keep him in the house and go live a lifestyle. That's how you treat your best friend? Forgive me for being blunt, but if that's your best friend, I hate to see an enemy. Because your best friend, he deserves a burial. A best friend deserves closure. But that doesn't seem like a best friend. That just seems like you living in a moment and living a lifestyle. And basically coming into money. Because that's certainly what it appears. And that's what it's consistent with. You acknowledge that I'm not making that up, that that's what most people are going to think. Now the question is, what is 6 or 12 jurors going to think?
I understand how it looks, and I understand that I'm a terrible. I understand that a lot of this is, probably going to spend the rest of my life in prison because of this, or get the needle or whatever. It is what it is, but...
Left-handed or right-handed?
Some manufacturers will use
But he uses his left hand to shoot himself. Right. No, Jake, what am I supposed to think?
I already made up your mind. You're Mr. Fancy Detective. You know all.
No, I don't claim to know all. But I do think that I'm a little bit better than the average. And that doesn't add up. But what does add up? Add sleeping in bed and you walking up and shooting him. It does.
That didn't happen. So.
Well, you certainly made it hard
For
us
to ever believe that.
Yes. cutting up a mattress, changing the beds, not even going into the stories of different folks, fake phone calls to a dad that's laying in a freezer in the front room of your house, spending all his money, selling all his tools. I'm not trying to be an ass. I'm just pointing out the facts of that certainly don't make you look good. I didn't even go into like the science. We just dabbled on that. That certainly doesn't add up. Then you take all those other factors and a continuous process through this of lies and the lies that you've told other people certainly doesn't paint a very good picture to you. We agree? But the last shining moment of this, we say, well, I'm telling the truth, he shot himself. It doesn't add up. We can agree on a lot of things that you've lied through this whole thing. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'm not going to do that. Okay? But I think, honestly, that is the one place where you're still lying about. Everything adds up and everything points right back to you. Okay? That's religious. Is it a sin to...
This is my mistake.
We're not talking about his sister. We're talking...
Impossible. I kind of messed him up. Seeing how she having an after a situation.
So, if you're willing to take the polygraph, we will set it up right now. I'll get you some food, and you can take a polygraph for that.
Let's do it.
Yes?
I have to lose.
Okay. Are you sure? Okay. Is there anything else that we have talked about through this whole process? Okay. Is there anything else you want to change, alter, modify, correct, lied about, anything whatsoever? I'm giving you the opportunity to clear the air. What does the Bible tell you to do?
Tell the fucking truth.
Shut, Jake.
Yes, but he asked me to.
I asked you to shoot him. Jake.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. We had talked about it for the last, I don't know, 6 months. I think in January when he found out that my mom married my uncle, it was kind of the end of it for him. I caught him with 3 times since February. But he wasn't willing to actually do it. Had a couple conversations where I said, hey, we're going to go to Idaho this summer, and if he's going to get better, it's all going to be okay. It's all going to be okay.
How did it happen?
We talked about it for about 3 weeks, and he wasn't willing to do it. He said, you're going to do it. I'm not doing it. I told him, well, you're not going to do it. Tried, but you refused to. I tried to talk him out of it. 22nd. I'm ready to leave the Lord. He called me in the room with the 45 in my hand. He said, "I love you, son, and I'm sorry. I just can't do this anymore." I sat there and shaked like a little for about 15 minutes. I kept saying, "It's okay." I was so afraid to see the blood or anything. I put the pillow between his neck. I fired it one time. His body flinched. And it was gone.
It's alright, you're clear now. The truth shall set you free. Put your gun in your hands. You know the lion's gotta stop. It's gotta be weighing on you. You know it's been tearing you up.
That's the whole truth. You can believe that or not, I don't care. That man is all I had. And I would never get this woman.
Jake's story has taken yet another drastic turn. While he now finally admits to killing his father, he makes the bold claim that Brian actually asked him to do it. It's a wild defense, but considering all the others he's burned through during this interview, it's the only one he has left. Jake Hemmert pleaded no contest to multiple charges, including second-degree murder with a firearm, tampering with evidence, abuse of a human corpse, and fraudulent use of a credit card. He was found guilty and sentenced to 30 years in prison, with a minimum 25 years to be served.